Today I want to talk about an important concert that had nothing to do with really except to show up. This is it's an amazing story, an astonishing fact that I'll let you in on. It was Istanbul, Turkey, 1991. I'd finished the world tour in 1988, very successful tour. It had gone around the world. We played 18 countries in 6 weeks. And our tour managers had done perfectly well. The tour went extremely well for all of us from beginning to end. It was a magnificent success. It was a $36 million project. We completed it. Everybody got paid. It was amazing. We'd done it. Really, it worked very well. So we keep getting these calls at my office. My secretary, Claude Isakov, was French-speaking and French-born. Was taking the calls, and she was interested in Istanbul because I think her parents came from there. And they kept calling saying, we're going to be the last concert on your world tour. And I kept telling them, that tour's over, and it was already on HBO. It had run 3 times, and it was over. We were moving on. But they kept calling and come to Istanbul. And I tell my partner, Ferio Gary, that we, about this, and she said, well, let's go. Let's see what's up. And I thought, okay. So we were in Greece on vacation in the islands, floating around the Greek islands. And I thought that'd be the time I'd go over to see what they're talking about and respect their hope to do a concert as the last concert of the world tour, the Human Rights Now tour. And this by now, this is 1991. So my plane left Greece on its way to Istanbul, and it blew an engine. And we luckily got back to the airport in Istanbul, but it was so terrifying to me, I didn't want to get in another plane that day at all, because I heard that engine blow up or set on fire or whatever it did. I was looking at it. And so I wasn't ready to go over, waited a while. And we kept getting these calls to come. So I finally said to Ferio, let's go to Istanbul and see what this is all about. So we did. We arrived at the airport, and I tell Ferio, look, if the Turks arrest me, because I don't want to go in these Turkish prisons, go back to the other side, get behind me, go to the other side and organize my friends to get me out of a Turkish jail if this happens. And so, but I get to the counter and I hand them my passport. They say, oh, you're Healy. I said, yeah. But it was a pleasant response. It was not difficult. She said, you have to come with me. We're going back, into a room. Okay, great. So I called Ferio and we both go back into this room, and I don't know what to expect, really. I walk in and there's, 20 press, 10 cameras, and all kinds of journalists there. And so before I wanted to address them, I looked in the corner, and there was a group of people, so I walked over and I said, does anybody speak English here? And one person did. And I said, who are we? She said, we're all former prisoners, all political prisoners, and most of us have been tortured in Turkish jail, and we want to do a concert that's your last one on the world tour. I said, well, that's beautiful. I said, how do we do that? She said, well, we're just going to put up 5 posters, big posters, in the center of town and advertise it. I said, you can fill whatever stadium or... She said, yeah, we think we can. So I go back to the mics, and I blast away at human rights abuses in Turkey as well as the Middle East, and, did my job. And I wasn't there on a mission from Amnesty, so I had to be kind of careful about what I was saying. So eventually we get in cars, and they're smoking all the time, and they smoke over there, oof. So get to the hotel, and I said, where's the arena? So it was across the way from the Hilton Hotel, almost like across a big field or something like that. No, okay. So comes the day of the concert. I decided to walk over early, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I think it had a seating capacity somewhere between 3,000, 5,000, something like that. And there was a whole mess of people around this arena already. And I thought, oh geez, they didn't open the doors, that's too bad. And what I did discover is they not only had opened the doors, but it had already been filled. People were just waiting to go in or to get a feel for this or to somehow be part of this. This is amazing. And of course, I don't speak English, I don't speak Turkish, so I was isolated by that fact. So I go back around 7 or so, and it's absolutely filled to the brim with, I don't know how many people outside, but a large number of people outside. And this is in Istanbul, where most of the time anything peaceful could be, you could go to jail for it, or any demonstration. You know, it was a tough time. It's a tough government. And it was going spectacularly well. And so I discovered that inside the bands, only the bands that were allowed to play that had been banned by the Turkish government. And that we had to have many people on stage from the different parts, the Kurds and so on, the different parts of Turkey had to be on stage. So it was a collective of all the peoples of Turkey that will work on this committee as well as those who would take to the stage. And so in the corner of this arena, there were these big sheets, white sheets, almost like bed sheets, you know, big ones hanging down. And so what would happen is in between the bands, when they were changing from one band to another, they would show Bruce Springsteen or Sting or Peter Gabriel, Youssou N'Dour or Tracy Chapman on one of those corners. So they were connecting emotionally this concert in Istanbul 3 years later with this emotional thing of showing our concert in between the breaks from the world tour. And the bands played, and the only bands were allowed to play, as I said, were the ones who were banned by the government, which it might not have been allowed in the country, I don't know. And this is all in Turkish. And so I get up to speak, and there's this roar, you know, like if I was Muhammad Ali or something. And I give this speech, this fiery speech, as best I could in English. And of course they cheered me on, whatever. I don't think they understood a word of it except maybe my energy. And so it worked. And what I discovered is that the crowd outside had been rotated by those inside. They rotated all night long to let other people come in so they could experience this concert. And that brought a tear to my eye. I mean, that was so powerful and moving for me that a concert people who paid for a ticket would do that, give up their seat, move around, and let everybody come in and experience it. The other thing that happened was they did so well at the gates, they gave up tickets, and they just set out barrels, and the Turks had filled these barrels with money. So it was an immense success. And so I told my working crew, which again in English, only one person spoke English, we should go somewhere and dance and have a good time, you know, into the wee hours of the morning, and we did. And it was a great time. So there was one young guy who was sitting there at this club, and he looked destroyed. He had been tortured in prison, and he'd just gotten out, and he was pretty down. He was pretty not feeling so good, and you could tell. And so I told him to tell that gentleman that this wonderful Persian wants to dance with him, and it lit him up like crazy, which was a great experience. It was nice. He lit up right away. It was a beautiful moment, and Farrell danced with him. So it was a small moment, but an important moment. And the next day, when I was leaving, we were leaving at night to go back to Europe, and they took me to a place where they wanted to give me a gift, and I told them I didn't want a gift, but they did give me a gift, and I want to show it to you. This is an all silk carpet from Istanbul that they gave me for leading the world tour in 1988. And to this day, I don't know who did. I honestly don't know who did the concert, who those people were. It worked, and so they said to me at the airport, we had about an hour before the plane flight, what do we do with all this money we raised? We raised more than we could ever think possible. I said, well, I want you to do this. Do you know the families who have been disappeared? Do you know the families who have been tortured? The men have been tortured, the women, have been mauled in prison. Do you know these people? Oh yeah, we have that all on record. We do that in our human rights group. I said, well, let's put together an honest committee of everybody in Turkey, all the different segments of the community of Turkey, an honest committee, and just give that money away to all those people who've suffered human rights abuses. They said, can we do that? I said, yeah, absolutely you can do that. You don't want it to send anywhere? I said, no, I don't want it to send anywhere. Let's keep it in Turkey. You've suffered, you deserve the respect, and I think people would understand. You go to a concert, you want an uplifting, you want a feeling good, you want to make sure that money's spent well, and with the people that deserve it. And so the people who have been disappeared, their families, the people who have been tortured, the people, just give them money and make sure it's an honest operation. They said, we'll do that. And I left. Farrell and I left. We didn't know who they were. To this day, we never did find out who they were. But it's the finest concert I've ever been to. It's the best one I never did. And it truly was, 3 years later, the last concert of the human rights. In 1988, it became the final concert in that tour. So we closed that tour in Istanbul. Thank you for listening. It's an amazing story, isn't it?